And the round goes into the hexagon. Hello fellow engineers, let me welcome you with an interesting tech fact. Nothing we see on our so loved screen is really round. Everything we consider round in modern 3D games actually is made of thousands of little angular pieces. Or better, polygons. And after this was considered round in 1996, the one thing that changed is the number of these polygons to put together approximately round shapes. Now you might ask why I'm telling you this. Well, that's because the principle of this is very much the same for round shapes from blocks in Space Engineers. So let's get into this topic right after the intro. As a content creator and someone with just a randomly natural given understanding of geometry, I was a little concerned about making this video. Because on one hand it felt a little like making an episode of Sesame Street and treating you like kids that have to be taught in basic shapes. And on the other hand, yeah, it's actually hard to make a sphere in Space Engineers, even for me, if I'm not focused enough. So I decided to ask you guys with a poll in the community section. And that poll gave me some self-confidence to make this video. And now, guess what?
Welcome to Elmo's World!
Okay, joking aside. For better understanding, this video is divided into chapters. Also, this helps you if you need to watch a specific part again later. And the easy start is two-dimensional with Chapter 1, Round Panels and Rings. This is a step-by-step guide I prepared these examples for. And to solve this task, there's only one rule to keep in mind. Building in Space Engineers is a macro digital environment. And there is no such thing as a perfect round in digital environments. So the question we have to ask is, how many different angles do I have to merge together to get the best geometric approximation to a round shape? And in the case of Space Engineers, well, there's only 4 options. And these 4 are 27 degrees, 45, 63 and 90 degrees. And these are given by the flat laying 2x1 slope, the original 45 degrees slope, the upward standing 2x1 slope and the full armor block. Now, to get our round panel as the base for everything else in this tutorial, we start with a symmetrical 2-dimensional cross. In this case it is 19 by 19 blocks. Other diameters and also uneven numbers do work too. Only if smaller than 11 by 11 blocks there are some limitations with the slopes we are using here. In the next step we are making the same cross just a little thicker. Like 3 blocks thick. In step 3 we have to fill the inner corners with full blocks. But there's a specific scheme for this. From the outer edges of our cross we need to make steps down of 2 blocks length, till the point where the edges of these steps are standing in a 45 degrees angle to each other. For the rest we are going with 1 block per step. And now with filling the steps with the different slopes described at the beginning of this chapter, we finally have what is the closest to a round shape possible. Now, if you want a ring or an inner rounding instead of just a round panel, just go ahead. It pretty much works the same, but inverted. Chapter 2, Cylinders and Tubes. Bringing it into the third dimension for cylinders and tubes is very fast to explain. Just do the same thing as before, but with more layers. Just for the cylinder there are 2 options. Either we build it massive or do the tube and just build a closed first and last layer. And that's already it about these 2, and since it went that quick... Before we get into the topic spheres, please let me have a word or two in my own and this channel's interest. Scripting, recording and cutting videos like this really is a lot of hard work. And it's even more if you have to learn how to script, record and cut at the same time. And the one thing I hope for to get in return is the support of just a couple of clicks. Or more specific, the support you give me with your clicks on the like and subscribe buttons. And maybe you want to consider joining us on my community Discord and take a look into my Steam workshop. All links are in the description down below. But now let's get into Chapter 3, Spheres. For our sphere we start with the round panel from the first chapter as the base. And the first thing to add is the center line of blocks for the third dimension. Therefore we need 9 blocks right in the center of our panel, at the front and at the back of it. Now, with a look at the other building steps in this chapter, you might say, come on, can't we have this easier? And the brief answer to this is no. And yes. Or at least here is some advices how to not have to set all blocks one by hand. And that is if you're trying to do some complex construction, especially if it's something you never did before, don't do it in a survival game. Better pre-build it in creative mode to project and replicate it in survival later. And it is not only the obvious that you can instantly place blocks and block rows. It is also about the mirror function that spares you the most of the work. And just in case you never used it before, just point at the block row where you want to place the mirror at and press M. Skip through the different mirrors with the M key until you found the right one, then just click and repeat with the other axis. After you placed all 3 mirrors, press N to end the mode and again N to activate the mirrors. Now in our example we widen our central axis to 3 blocks again, like this. And you will see with the mirror function we have to build 1 of 4 corners per axis only. With that done we use the scheme for filling the corners of the panel from chapter 1. Again we fill the steps with the matching slopes and widen everything to 3 block layers. Now we have some kind of spherical frame and we have to fill it. And that is the most difficult part of building a sphere. Because there's no general order of blocks for all diameters. But we can find all blocks that are needed in these 3 categories. And for filling the empty space in our example I splitted it into 3 steps. And for the first one we need these 3 blocks from the sloped corner set. And if you want to know how to line them up, here's the clue. Always try to find the right block and orientation that lines up on 2 sides with the existing blocks and has a shape that follows the wanted rounding on the outside. And no worries to have to do this 24 times. If the mirror function is set correctly, all other 23 corners get filled automatically. Now we are almost there, just 2 more steps. Next we need 6 blocks from the sloped corner and the sloped transition base sets. And with some trying around, the result should look like this. For the last step and to close that last little hole, we need 4 blocks. In this case 2 of these blocks are part of the full armor block set and the other 2 again are part of the sloped corner set. And after we fit in these, there it is, our as round as possible sphere in Space Engineers. Well, that's an improvement over a couple of things, isn't it? It seems the 1996 Lara agrees. And if you do too, maybe you want to watch one of my other videos you will find in the end cut of this video. And now, thanks for watching, see you next time, bye.